Chris Butt from New Zealand is P1 on softs. Best lap is a 1:40.935. Jason Short from New Zealand in Castrol Edge is P6 on softs. That Canadian guy from Canada in rock is 5th on softs. Chris Butt from New Zealand in Pirelli is 3rd. That Canadian guy in Rent is P5. Johnny Prince from New Zealand in rock is 3rd on softs. Best lap is a 1:40.349. The qualification session is at Red Bull Ring Grand Prix Circuit in Spielberg, Austria. Todd from New Zealand is 17th on softs. The race dictator from New Zealand is P2 on softs. Todd is P3. Chris Butt from New Zealand is P6 on softs. The race dictator in Pirelli is P2. Todd is 3rd. Jason Short from New Zealand is P1 on softs. Jason Short is up 14.55 in rock. The race dictator is first up 8.49. The race dictator is up 8.90 in rent. The race dictator improved his P1 with a 138.719. That Canadian guy from Canada is P4 on softs. That Canadian guy improved his second with a 140.161. 1.442 off pole. The race dictator is first up 0.12. Best lap is a 138.719. Todd is P4 up 0.41. Todd is up 1.12 in rock. Jason Short from New Zealand is P5 up 1.42. Jason Short is up 1.53 in rent. 5 minutes remaining in the session. Jason Short improved his P2 with a 139.342. 0.623 off pole. Chris Button in rent is 7th up 0.60. Johnny Prince from New Zealand in Red Bull Mobile is P5 on softs. Johnny Prince improved his 5th with a 139.649. 0.930 off pole. Dave B. Racing from South Africa in rent is P7 up 1.43 on softs. Best lap is a 141.263. 2.544 off pole. Dave B. Racing improved his 6th with a 139.671. 0.952 off pole. Jason Short from New Zealand in Pirelli is P3 up 0.17. Todd in Pirelli is 2nd up 0.33. Todd is up 0.37 in Red Bull Mobile. Todd improved his second with a 139.061. 0.342 off pole. Johnny Prince in Red Bull Mobile is P5 up 0.87 on softs. Johnny Prince improved his P2 with a 138.776. 0.057 off pole. Chris Butt in Castrol Edge is 7th. Jason Short is P4 up 0.20. Chris Butt in Rock is 7th up 1.25 on softs. Chris Button is up 1.41 in red. Chris Button improved his fourth with a 139.245. 0.526 off pole. The race dictator is P1 up 0.11. Dictator is up 0.11 in WA1/4 RTH. The race dictator is up 0.09 in Red Bull Open. The qualifying session is now in overtime. Race dictator is provisional pole with a 138.715. Chris Button is fourth. Best lap is a 139.245. 0.530 off pole. Dave B Racing is 7th on softs. Best lap is a 139.671. 0.956 off pole. Jason Short is 5th up 0.34. Jason Short is up 0.43 in Pirelli. Broadcast bot is P20 on softs. The race session is at Red Bull Ring Grand Prix Circuit in Spielberg, Austria. Dave B Racing from South Africa is P7 on softs. The race dictator is first. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. From New Zealand in Castrol edges P2 on softs. Jason Short from New Zealand is P3 on softs. Johnny Prince is P2. Jason Short is third. Todd from New Zealand is fourth on softs. Jason Short is P3. Todd is P4. Johnny Prince is second on softs, 0.2 ahead of Jason Short. Johnny Prince lost second to Jason Short. Todd in Remus is P4, 0.7 behind Johnny Prince. Jason Short from New Zealand is third, battling Johnny Prince. Jason Short passed Johnny Prince for second. Johnny Prince in Pirelli is third, 0.2 behind Jason Short. Todd is P4. Best lap is a 1:48.915. 2.111 off the fastest lap. Johnny Prince is third, 0.4 ahead of Todd. Todd is fourth, 0.5 behind Johnny Prince. Johnny Prince is third, 0.5 ahead of Todd. Todd was 0.6 faster last lap. Todd is P4. Best lap is a 1:39.913. 0.745 off the fastest lap. Dave B Racing in Rock is sixth, 0.5 behind Chris Budd. Todd in Pirelli on lap 3 is fourth, 0.4 behind Johnny Prince. Todd was 0.6 faster last lap. Chris Budd from New Zealand is P6 on softs, 0.3 behind Dave B Racing. "15 minutes remaining in the session. Todd is P4, 0.4 behind Johnny Prince. Dave B Racing in Castrol Edge is P6, 0.3 behind Chris Budd. Jason Short in Remus is second, 0.9 behind the race dictator. Todd on lap 4 is P4 battling Johnny Prince. Todd passed Johnny Prince for P3. Todd lost third to Johnny Prince. That Canadian guy from Canada on lap 4 is sixth on softs, 0.5 ahead of Dave B Racing. Dave B Racing in WA14 RTH is P7, 0.9 behind that Canadian guy. Jason Short from New Zealand in Red Bull Mobile is second, 0.9 behind the race dictator. Todd in Castrol edges P4, 1.1 behind Johnny Prince. Jason Short in Remus is second, 0.7 behind the race dictator. Dave B Racing is sixth. Best lap is a 1:39.689. 1.072 off the fastest lap. Jason Short is P2, 0.3 behind the race dictator. Todd is fourth, 1.5 behind Johnny Prince. Jason Short in Red Bull is second, 0.3 behind the race dictator. The race dictator from New Zealand in Castrol edges second on softs, 0.4 behind Jason Short. Johnny Prince is P3, 1.8 behind the race dictator. The race dictator is second. Best lap is a 1:39.004. 0.394 off the fastest lap. Todd is P4, 1.6 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator is P2, 1.2 behind Jason Short. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Todd from New Zealand is P4, 1.4 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator is second, 1.3 behind Jason Short. Todd is P4, 0.4 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator is second, 1.6 behind Jason Short. Jason Short was 1.3 faster last lap. Todd in WA1/4 RTH is fourth, 0.6 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator in Red Bull Mobile on lap 7 is P2, 1.5 behind Jason Short. Todd is P4. Best lap is a 1:38.610. 0.167 off the fastest lap. Todd passed Johnny Prince for P3. Johnny Prince is P4, 0.2 behind Todd. Dave B Racing in Remus is P7, 1.6 behind that Canadian guy. Johnny Prince is P4, 0.8 behind Todd. Todd was 1.0 faster last lap. Dave B Racing in Pirelli is P7 on softs, 1.9 behind that Canadian guy. Johnny Prince is P4, 0.9 behind Todd. Dave B Racing in Red Bull Mobile is 7th. Best lap is a 1:39.664. 1.221 off the fastest lap. Johnny Prince is P4, 0.1 behind Todd. Dave B Racing is P7, 0.9 behind that Canadian guy. Johnny Prince from New Zealand in Rock is 4th, 0.6 behind Todd. The race dictator is P2, 1.0 behind Jason Short. Todd from New Zealand is 3rd, 0.6 ahead of Johnny Prince. Five minutes remaining in the session. Johnny Prince is 4th. Best lap is a 1:38.697. 0.254 off the fastest lap. The race dictator in red is 2nd, 0.4 ahead of Todd. The race dictator. The race dictator in Castrol edges P2, 0.4 ahead of Dave B Racing. Dave B Racing is P3, 0.5 behind the race dictator. Dave B Racing is now P2. Jason Short on lap 10 is 3rd, 0.5 ahead of Todd. Dave B Racing is P2 on softs, 0.4 behind the race dictator. Jason Short in double Dave B Racing in Rent is P2 on softs, 0.5 behind the race dictator. Dave B Racing was 16.7 faster last lap. Todd is 4th on softs, 0.8 behind Dave B Racing. Dave B Racing was 12.1 faster last lap. Jason Short is P2, 0.4 ahead of Dave B Racing. Dave B Racing in Remus is P3 on softs, 0.4 behind Jason Short. Todd is P4, 0.8 behind Dave B Racing. Dave B Racing was 0.8 faster last lap. Todd passed Dave B Racing for P3. Jason Short in Pirelli is 2nd on softs, 0.9 behind the race dictator. Dave B Racing is 5th, 0.2 ahead of Johnny Prince. Johnny Prince in Rent is 6th, 0.3 behind Dave B Racing. Jason Short in Castrol Edge is 2nd, 0.7 behind the race dictator. Best lap is a 1:39.791. 1.348 off the fastest lap. Jason Short is P2, 0.8 behind the race dictator. Dave B Racing is 6th, 0.4 behind Chris Budd. Jason Short is P2. Best lap is a 1:38.443. The leader has just finished the race. The race dictator finished P1. Jason Short finished P2. Todd finished P3. Johnny Prince finished 4th. Chris Budd finished 5th. Dave B Racing finished P6. That Canadian guy finished 7th. Wiremu finished P8. Broadcast bot is P9. The race session is at Red Bull Ring Grand Prix Circuit in Spielberg, Austria. Wiremu is first on softs. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. Dave B Racing from South Africa in Castrol edges P2 on softs. That Canadian guy from Canada is third on softs. Dave B Racing is P2. That Canadian guy is third. Johnny Prince from New Zealand is P4 on softs. That Canadian guy is P4. Dave B Racing is P3. Todd from New Zealand is fourth on softs, battling that Canadian guy. Todd passed that Canadian guy for third. That Canadian guy is fourth, 0.5 behind Todd. Todd is third, 0.4 ahead of that Canadian guy. That Canadian guy from Canada is P4, 0.7 behind Todd. Todd from New Zealand in WA14 RTH is third, 0.4 ahead of that Canadian guy. That Canadian guy in red is fourth, 0.3 behind Todd. Dave B Racing from South Africa is fifth, 0.7 behind that Canadian guy. Todd is third, 0.4 ahead of that Canadian guy. That Canadian guy in Remus is P4. Best lap is a 1:41.756. 3.485 off the fastest lap. Todd from New Zealand is third, 0.3 ahead of that Canadian guy. That Canadian guy in Pirelli is P4 on softs, 0.6 behind Todd. Todd is P3 on softs, 0.7 behind Johnny Prince. Minutes remaining in the session. Dave B racing in Red Bull Mobile on lap 3 is P5, 0.3 ahead of Chris Budd. Todd in Castrol edges third, 0.8 behind Johnny Prince. Racing is fifth, 0.9 behind that Canadian guy. Todd is P3, 0.8 behind Johnny Prince. That Canadian guy is P4, 0.8 behind Todd. Todd in WA1 RTH is P3 on softs, 0.7 ahead of that Canadian guy. Canadian guy is fourth, 0.8 behind Todd. Todd is P3, 0.9 behind Johnny Prince. Dictator from New Zealand in Castrol edges 7th on softs, 0.2 behind Chris Budd. The race dictator passed Chris Budd for P6. Todd in Remus is third, 0.9 ahead of that Canadian guy. Chris Budd from New Zealand on lap 5 is P7 on softs, 0.6 ahead of Jason Short. That Canadian guy is P4, 0.9 behind Todd. Chris Budd is 7th, 0.3 ahead of Jason Short. Todd in Red Bull Mobile on lap 5 is third, 1.0 behind Johnny Prince. That Canadian guy is P4, 0.6 behind Todd. That Canadian guy was 0.7 faster last lap. Chris Budd is 8th. Best lap is a 1:40.308. 2.037 off the fastest lap. Todd is P3, 1.0 ahead of that Canadian guy. Jason Short from New Zealand is P7 on softs, 1.0 behind the race dictator. Todd in WA 1/4 RTH is P3, 1.0 behind Johnny Prince. Jason Short from New Zealand is P7, 0.9 behind the race dictator. 10 minutes remaining in the session. Todd is third, 1.0 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator in Castrol Edge is P6, 0.5 behind Dave B Racing. Todd is third. Best lap is a 1:39.388. 1.117 off the fastest lap. The race dictator is sixth, 0.8 ahead of Jason Short. Todd in Pirelli is P3, 0.7 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator in WA 1/4 RTH is 6th, 0.5 behind Dave B Racing. Todd in Red Bull Mobile is P3, 0.6 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator is P6. Best lap is a 1:38.866. 0.595 off the fastest lap. Todd is third, 0.7 behind Johnny Prince. Jason Short in Remus is P7, 0.1 behind the race dictator. Todd is P3, 0.5 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator in Pirelli is 6th. Todd is third, 0.7 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator in Red Bull Mobile is P6, 0.2 ahead of Jason Short. Todd on lap 9 is third, 0.8 behind Johnny Prince. The race dictator is P6. Race Dictator lost 6th to Jason Short. Todd is 3rd. Best lap is a 1:39.024. 0.753 off the fastest lap. Jason Short in Rock is 6th on softs, 0.7 ahead of the Race Dictator. That Canadian guy is P5, 0.3 behind Dave B Racing. That Canadian guy lost 5th to Jason Short. Todd in Rent is P3, 1.0 behind Johnny Prince. 5 minutes remaining in the session. Jason Short from New Zealand in Red Bull Mobile is P6, 0.3 behind that Canadian guy. Jason Short passed that Canadian guy for 5th. Dave B Racing in Castrol Edge is P4, 0.6 behind Todd. Is 2nd, 0.7 ahead of Todd. Todd is P3, 0.3 ahead of Dave B Racing. Dave B Racing was 2.9 faster last lap. Johnny Prince is 2nd. Best lap is a 1:39.330. 1.059 off the fastest lap. Dave B Racing is P4 battling Todd. Dave B Racing lost P4 to that Canadian guy. Johnny Prince from New Zealand is P2, 0.4 behind Wiremute. Dave B Racing is P4, 0.3 ahead of that Canadian guy. Dave B Racing was 5.8 faster last lap. Johnny Prince is 2nd, 0.2 behind Wiremute. Dave B Racing in Castrol Edge is 4th battling that Canadian guy. Johnny Prince in Remus is P2 battling Wiremute. Johnny Prince passed Wiremute for P1. Wiremute is P2, 0.2 behind Johnny Prince. Johnny Prince was 2.5 faster last lap. That Canadian guy is 5th, 0.6 behind Dave B Racing. That Canadian guy is now 4th. Wiremute is 2nd, 0.1 behind Johnny Prince. Chris Bunnett in Rent is 5th, 0.2 ahead of the Race Dictator. Chris Bunnett was 4.5 faster last lap. Wiremu is second battling Johnny Prince. Todd is P3 on softs, 0.3 behind Wiremu. Johnny Prince is second. Todd in Rock is P2, 0.1 ahead of Johnny Prince. Todd lost P2 to Johnny Prince. Crispa in Pirelli is P5 on softs, 0.4 ahead of the race dictator. Crispa lost 5th to the race dictator. Johnny Prince is P3, 0.2 behind Todd. The leader has just finished the race. Wiremu finished first. Todd finished P2. Johnny Prince finished third. That Canadian guy finished P4. The race dictator finished P5. Crispa finished 6th. Jason Short finished P7. Dave B Racing finished P8. Broadcast bot is 9th.